one of the families that had me come and rid their home of the unclean spirits. What was going on was one of the children was not sleeping in their bedroom at all, and this all started around the same time. And but the other child would get up halfway through the night, leave their room, and run to the parents' room. And one of the children, I don't recall what the child who was not sleeping in their room at all had said was the reason why. But the child who would leave their room in the middle of the night and run to the parents' room told the parents that the child heard talking or whispering in the home near the bedroom. So I was asked to come down and rid the house of these spirits, come make sense of it, and if there was something there, rid the house of the spirits. Now, this was kind of early on with me being asked to come out and spiritually clean homes. And I learned a good lesson from this incident. One of the things I learned was never lay your head where you do your work. And so this family had put me up in a room in the home because, I was there to kind of suss out. And then if there was a need, then my role was going to be to spiritually clean the place. So I'm put up in a room and all is well probably for a few weeks. I mean, not a few weeks, a few days. And one night I am up late reading or something, and I hear a door slam. And even though I do this work, I'm not gonna lie, sometimes evil can catch you a little off guard, because even though we know evil is there, even though we know it exists, even though we know it never takes a break or a vacation, right? Still, when you know you've been called to a place to spiritually assess said place, and you hear a door slam in the middle of the night, it's not going to be good. So I hear the door slam, and I know it's my time to shine, so to speak. I need to check it out. I'm there to suss. So I get up, and I kind of peep out into the hallway, and I see the door across from the room I've been put up in is closed, and that's one of the other children's room. And so I go to the door and I try the handle, and the door is locked. I put my ear to the door and I can hear the child whose room it is in there crying. So now, even though this is the work I do, not gonna lie, I'm a little concerned because the baby's in there crying. It's the middle of the night and nobody knows this child is in there crying but me. So clearly, the two things. I've been brought in to suss out what's going on in this house. 3 things. I've been brought in if something is in the house to get it out. And then the third thing is I'm an adult and something's clearly going on and the baby in there crying and the parents are not aware. So I knock on the door and I can hear this child just rack with sobs. And I say, such and such, because I protect people's identities, right? Because no different than a counselor, when you do this type of work, I'm of the mindset you want to maintain people's confidentiality. So, I knock on the door and I'm like, baby, you need to open the door. I can't get in. The door is locked. And I just hear this child racked with sobs. And I'm like, baby, you're going to have to open the door because I can't help you if the door is locked. And so then the handle rattles, and I try the knob. The knob now works. I get in the room, and the baby's on the bed, back to me, curled up in a ball, just shivering and crying. And so I said, I'm going to pick you up, right? Because with children, I'm of the mindset when you do this type of work, first of all, you need to train the parents on how to keep their own house spiritually clean. You need to train the parents in cleaning their own house. Because people like me, there's not a whole lot of us, and we cannot be everywhere. And so I'm of the mindset I must train people, right? It's the old adage with Jesus saying, teach a man to fish. And I'm of the mindset these children need to be trained also, right? Because this child will eventually become a middle schooler, will eventually become a teenager, will eventually become an adult. Satan is coming to these kids little, like 2 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old. They got to be trained. They got to be trained in an age appropriate way. So I tell the little boy, I say, so I said all that to say, when it comes to children, when it comes to things like this with any child, you want to allow that child their boundaries. And so I'm always conscientious of a child and a child's boundaries. So even in that moment with something serious going on, and I know something's happened, I know why I've been called there, I know this child is being traumatized by something unseen and unseen force, I still must, in setting the example to the child, honor this child's boundaries. Evil doesn't honor boundaries at all, but I can do my part as an adult just to set that minuscule amount of example in the moment in which I will be in this child's life and influence this child's life for however long. So I basically am asking the child for permission to pick the child up, because I know the history is this child, something happens in the middle of the night, the child runs to the parents' room, but tonight seems to be a little bit different, right? Because the door slams, then the child locks the door. The child clearly doesn't run down the hall to the parents' room. So tonight is seeming to be a little different. So I let the child know, I'm going to pick you up, I'm going to carry you down the hall to your parents' room, and I'm going to put you down. Is that okay? And the child sits up and nods yes through all these tears. I said, okay, I'm going to pick you up, and on a 1, 2, 3, I'm going to run out of the room, run down the hall, run to your parents' room, right? And I'm doing this for the child, not for me, the running piece, right? I don't need to move quickly, but I know in a child's heart and in the fear, and if you had seen how this kid was racked with sobs, a child wants you to move a little quickly if you're about to move them toward what they perceive to be the source of danger. So he gives me permission. I pick him up, cuddle him in my arms, go to the room door, run out the room, run down the hall, get to the parents' room. And as soon as I go to sit him on the floor, his little feet are running like the Flintstones, right into the parents' room. Okay, so then now I've got the child situated. Remember, there's another child who does not sleep in that particular in their own room. So that child is on the couch asleep and is not aware of any of this going on. They refuse to sleep in their room. Something was happening in the child's room. Child had been refusing to sleep in the room for a few years. It had been a few years, at least 3 years, I believe. So what I do is I go through and I pray and I discern. God has given me a gift of discernment. I'm able to discern spirits. And sometimes you can see a demon with the naked eye. Sometimes it's olfactory senses that kick in. Like when it comes to Satan, when Satan himself comes to me, I smell him. There's a particular odor that I smell when Satan himself comes. And when Satan first started coming to me, I knew I must be pretty important. I don't feel important, but I must be pretty important because he is not omnipresent. And so for him to be here in my presence, I'm somebody that is clearly on his radar. Now I've grown by leaps and bounds since the time when I first started encountering the evil one and having to be trained in spiritual warfare, and that I've grown a lot, and the enemy knows I'll kick his door in any given day. That's who I am. That's what I'm about. That's why I'm on this earth. That's one thing. So the first thing I do is I go through the home and I discern. So I'm feeling with all my senses, right? Because this thing, the battle, we're not doing the battle in what I call the natural realm, which is where our 5 senses are. I'm operating in the spirit realm, which would be maybe where some might say the 6th sense is kind of coming from, or you're operating in. So I walk around and I'm discerning with my whole being. And sometimes I even have to close my eyes, because remember, a lot of times this thing is unseen. Sometimes you see this stuff with the naked eye, but not always. And so in those cases, I literally close my eyes and walk around, because I can see with my eyes closed what I'm dealing with sometimes. So I'm walking, I'm going from corner to corner, I'm walking back and forth in this space, in like the living area, kind of near the kitchen, down the hall. I'm walking, and then I notice as I get to certain spots in the hall, down the hall, in the living area, I hear what sounds like a cocktail party taking place. It sounds like whispering, pss, 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 like people talking. And I get to this spot and it's over here, but then it's not here. Then I get to this spot, it's over here, and I hear pss, 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 It's like a cocktail party. It's like people standing in groups at a cocktail party talking. And I get to another spot, nothing. Another spot, pss, pss, pss. And I'm like, okay. So that now I know there is something in this house. The baby is hearing it. Now the child who was not sleeping in the bedroom, something was physically attacking it in its bedroom, like touching the child. Okay, that's why that child stopped sleeping in their bedroom. Something was touching the child. So nothing's touched me. And as far as I know, nothing's touched the child who runs out of the room, but the child could hear. Later, he said, I hear people I hear people talking, and I could hear it too. It just, to me, it sounded like whispering. I don't know what it sounded like to the child, but to me, it sounded like whispering. So I'm rebuking, I'm binding, I'm rebuking, I'm loosing peace, I'm loosing love, I'm loosing the will of the Father. And so I'm pacing. And the thing about spiritual warfare is you got to be willing to be there for the long haul. If it takes an hour to pray the thing out, you got to be willing to do that. If it takes 2 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours, you got to be willing to be there for the long haul, because the enemy, like that game Survivor, the enemy will outwit, outlast, outplay you. And so when I do this work, I'm there for the long haul. And the enemy knows I got stamina, baby. And so I'm walking through, I'm just praying. And then the sounds start to subside, right? This pocket is stopped. That pocket is stopped. The other pocket. And now once it's under control, I'm really stepping into that loosing peace, loosing the will of God. I'm praying over each child. I'm praying over the parents. I'm praying over every room. One of the things Christ tells us is when we do our work, right? When we go into a town, he said, let your peace loose over a household that welcomes you. And then if that household doesn't welcome you, you shake the dust from your sandals, you call your peace back to you, and you move on to the next town. So I'm loosing. And so when I feel like a peace has truly settled over the home, and that every person in that home has been prayed for and peace is over them, I go back to the room that I've been given and I go to bed. And at some point in the morning, I notice that the sun is kind of moving on the curtains. And I think, I haven't heard those kids this morning. And I'm glad, because the kids were pretty noisy. It was 3 kids and they're pretty noisy. And one child didn't typically stay at the home. The third child stayed with a relative most of the time, but was there that night. So time is going by and I'm seeing the sun move. So I know it's getting later and I haven't heard any children. And so the Holy Spirit says, get up and go wake up the household. And I'm like, wake up the household? These people should be gone by now. Maybe I just didn't hear them leave, because kids got to catch school bus and all that jazz. The Holy Spirit's like, get up and go wake up that household. Okay, so I get up and sure enough, the entire house is dead asleep. The kids, 2 of the kids are on the couches. The child who, one is the child that doesn't typically sleep in the home. The other is the child who hasn't slept in the bedroom in 3 years. The child who went to the parents' room is still asleep, and the mother is still asleep. Dad typically left for work about 4 a.m. So Dad would have left about maybe 50 minutes after I went to bed that morning. So I am looking at the clock. I'm trying to get a good look at the clock to see what time it is, because it's unusual. This whole house is knocked out. And the one child who typically stays with a relative suddenly sits straight up on the couch, looks me dead in my eye, and begins to scream, "What did you do? What did you do? What did you do?" Just screaming. And then jumps up and starts running around. "We missed the school bus. We missed the school." And then periodically would turn and look at me and go, "What did you do?" So clearly this child knows that even though the 2 children on the couch slept through the whole thing, this child knows the child can see me in the spirit apparently and knows I did something. And I did. I lose peace and got rid of those demons in the house. So I'm like, sorry, kid. But I have to go wake the parents, and the kids running around yelling and waking up the other sibling on the couch. And the mom gets up and she's like, crap, they missed the school bus. And it was like they were out, like they overslept by like an hour. And So she gets the kids ready, takes them to school, whatever. And then later that day, she says, she comes to me, and the mom, and says, when so-and-so, the dad, left for work this morning, she said, did you leave a TV on last night in that room you're in? I said, no, I haven't turned the TV on since I've been here. She said, well, and I don't want to say their names, when Dad left this morning, he said he heard the TV playing in the room where you were. And I thought those demons. I probably didn't get them all out, but I got enough out to get peace loosed. And because there was a lot of them. And so I was like, no, I haven't turned the TV on since I've been here. But let me tell you a little story about what happened at about 2 o'clock this morning, 2:30 this morning. So then I proceed to tell the story. And I'm like, I got rid of them, but you guys got to keep the house clean, because if you don't, they come back 7 times stronger. And I'd be doing you a disservice if you're not able to maintain when I am gone. And so, we have this discussion. And then, I don't know if it was later that night, maybe, we were all watching TV, and the dad was laying on the floor. And the wife starts laughing, and she tells the dad, show me your tattoos. And I'm thinking it's just a standard tattoo I'm about to be shown. Oh no. Dad had about 9 demons with their names tattooed all over his body. Okay, well, people, let me tell you this. And I'm like, the dad is the portal. And if the dad is the portal, that means that anything I put out this morning has the authority to come back 7 times stronger. I'm not casting anything else out of this house, because I don't want to put you people in a position where something come up in here where you need 3 Catholic priests to get it out. We already know there's been some type of manifestation that's been a gross manifestation, because one child was physically being attacked in their room, which is why they stopped sleeping in their room. Now, the other child is hearing this, what I would describe as multiple groups of people at a cocktail party, which is groups of demons all over your house and your living space. I would be wrong as 2 left shoes, knowing what I know about spiritual warfare and doing the work, to put anything else out of this house, knowing that anything I've already put out is going to come, has the authority. Because remember, the enemy operates, he knows his authority, and he would have the authority under God's word, what we've been told, to return 7 times stronger. Now whether that's one demon, each demon is 7 times stronger, or whether that's one demon bringing 7 more with him, regardless, that's a lot. And so I would be wrong. So when I go into a house to do this type of work, if the people aren't committed to trying to do the right thing, it don't behoove me to go, because now I'm wrong.